the cool thing about side hustles. I could really like scale this business from zero to $38,000 is already huge for me as a, again, part-time creator. For me, this doesn't mean that you have to quit your corporate job. So I wouldn't want to quit my corporate job. I just wanted to tell you it is possible. Even if you have an hour, let's say during lunch break, and these hours then add up, how to become a better writer, how to start your newsletter, and what this podcast is here also about, inspire you to start and dare to start your own business.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Ideal Investor Show, where we always bring you great content. We want to help you to get better investors and make better decisions, and we bring you great guests. And today we have another one of those great guests. So let us welcome together Kristina God to the show.
Hello, Axel. Many thanks for inviting me today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited, and it will be kind of a little bit of a funny thing for the audience, two Germans speaking English on the podcast, but I'm sure it will be fun. Before we dive in a little bit deeper in, the cool stuff that you're doing and maybe a little bit on how we got to know each other, tell the audience a little bit, how did you get to where you are, and what is it mainly that you're doing between being a mother and being a business owner and all these kind of cool things?
Yeah. So where I am today is that I'm a 25 global Substack education bestseller. I have a newsletter on this platform. It's called the Online Writing Club. And yeah, I would go with this newsletter because this is really like the heartbeat of my whole like online business as a mompreneur. When I started was to go back is in 2020 in December. I started after I gave birth to my baby. And I thought, since I was like a high performer in my job as a marketing and brand manager, I thought, okay, Kristina, what's like the next step to do, And this was just like a few weeks after giving birth to my baby. And then I was talking with my hubby about it, and he recommended Tim Denning to me. He said, hey, Tim Denning on the internet, he's writing there. Why not also join Medium? And so in December, then 2020, I started writing there. And I think this was like, this moment in my life that changed everything to where I am now, because somehow I like reconnected to the person I used to be. Because when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, like the moment I could hold a pencil, I started writing short form stories. Later then I studied journalism and media communications. And so this was like the moment where I reconnected to the person or to the writer I always was. And so, I started writing, I started blogging on this publishing platform. And then in 2022, I decided to not put all eggs in one basket. And this was the moment when I started my newsletter and also my YouTube channel. And then last year in January, to be honest, this was like really the time after giving birth to my second child. And after, having the feeling that I wanted to like open a new chapter, I said, okay, Kristina, now you're ready. And this was the time when I then said, okay, I'm gonna like rebrand my newsletter. I'm gonna call it like the Online Writing Club. So this was like my idea for it, and started my community. And this helped me then to be now at 14,000 subscribers, about 26,000 followers and so on. But I guess what it really gives me is to have like this part-time job and to give me like the freedom also for the future to have something besides my corporate job. I guess this is like the most important thing for me, because you never know what the future brings. And I love being both, like in the corporate world, this marketing and brand manager, and now also in the part-time world, this writer and newsletter owner.
Okay, yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for describing that. Just for those people in our audience who are not necessarily familiar with, I mean, for you and me, Kristina, this might sound a little crazy, but just as a quick explanation, Medium is basically a platform where people write what used to be known as blog articles and basically have publications. And I would say Substack, if I had to summarize it, started in the same way. I mean, in some of the descriptions, they actually claim for themselves that they started as an email hosting organization. And the beauty in that is that you really, if you have a Substack account, that you're really owning the email addresses of all your free subscribers and your paid subscribers. And you have the opportunity, at least fundamentally, to have publications, multiple if you want. You have chat rooms. And I believe lately, I've been with it basically in a similar, well, at least in a newsletter capacity for about 18 months now. All our subscribers and all our previous people on other email lists are now getting basically the newsletter through Substack. But I believe what we're clearly seeing, if you ask my opinion, I would be interested what you think, Kristina, that it's kind of like the more gentle, more engaging, more friendly social media platform. What do you think about that?
I'd say that first off, you have to understand that followers are dead. So followers are dead. This is something that you're like seeing now everywhere on YouTube, on Instagram, and so on, because so many creators, whether they are part-time creators or full-time creators, they are experiencing this, that from one day to the next or from 1 minute to the next, apparently, no matter what they did in the past or what they started, nobody is seeing their posts anymore. And this is something that happened to me on Medium as well. So I started there on this publishing platform. I'm very grateful for the opportunity I had that and write my stuff, share my stuff. But also at some point I realized apparently the algorithm is pushing stories that I would never ever want to read, and that I like flooding my feed. And at the same time, people said to me, "Hey, Kristina, did you stop writing on Medium?" And I was like, "What?" Because they changed the feed, they changed the algorithm. And if we're thinking, for instance, about Instagram, where people, even with a huge following, let's say part-time moms who, over years created like a huge following there, suddenly don't get the impressions, the views anymore, the reads they used to get. This is not their fault. It's not because their content became the content changed or anything, or the content doesn't work anymore. It's because nobody is seeing it anymore in their feed. And for instance, for Instagram, when I'm talking with people on the gram, they are telling me, it's just like 1% of your following or even less seeing your content. And with Medium, they once said it's even less than 1%. So on social, we would say it's about 1 to 3%. And then I would, on this meta level call, see like where's the difference between Medium and Substack. And the cool thing about Substack, yes, you're right about this, Axel. It used to be like an ESP, an email service provider, similar to Kit or MailChimp and all the others, Tiny Letters. But now it's definitely more than this, because
Right.
it offers us everything. So Axel, you and I, we both have this publication. This means this is like a website on the internet. At the same time, it is not only our website, it's also our newspaper, our publication there, where we can have specific sections where we write about the topics we care about. And this can also mean that in one newsletter publication, we are talking about gardening, and at the same time, we're talking about finances, for instance. Okay, there are people also talking about finances and animals, for instance, about chickens and animals, chickens and finances, for instance. So this is really the cool thing there. And in addition, we also have this newsletter where, in this intimate space that our inboxes still are, we send you a newsletter, a post that definitely gets into your inbox. Now you can, of course, like discuss open rates and everything
Right.
that now has changed with Google. But I think this is like the most important thing to understand, that really the follower metric is dead. That's one of the reasons why publishers, for instance, they are not asking you about the followers anymore as they used to be. They are now asking you, do you have an email list? And if you have an email list, how many people are on this email list? And if you have an email list, and if there are at least like a teeny tiny audience there, then you are already like ahead of, let's say, 80% of all the others creators, part-time creators, full-time creators on the internet.
Right, exactly. Well, and so for the audience, if you are interested, I'm just saying this because you have the online writing school, and that's not the main part of our conversation today. But anybody listening knows, Kristina knows her stuff if you even just listen for a few minutes. So we're going to give out how they can get in touch with you later. But fundamentally, if somebody says, wow, this is something that I wasn't aware of, even though there are probably like about 100 million people using Substack now, but in the big picture, that's relatively new still, and there's still a lot of opportunity there. Now, we normally, as you know, on this podcast talk about money and investing and so forth. And I said before we started recording, in my opinion, you are really an inspiration, especially for women who wonder, how can I do something? How can I generate income and stuff? So I would like to ask you to maybe generalize a little bit the average day in Kristina's life for somebody to say, how is this even possible? How can you actually organize yourself that way?
Yeah. So when we're meeting right now, this is like lunch break for us. As I told you, what I did was, I went to primary school where my son will go to in not next, next year in 2026, for instance. So this was like my morning then. And then now it's lunch break. Usually for my hobby, it's more in like in the morning corporate, then it's lunch break for both of us. And then we have to pick our kids from kindergarten. Yeah, and then, whenever I have the time, let's say my baby girl, she's taking a nap now. So again, this is like my lunch break, but it could also be like an extended lunch break, saying that I have then, let's say, 1 more hour or so. So I'm having the lunch break. I'm having, let's say, 1 more hour or so. And then, yeah, of course, I have 2 kids in the house. Of course, family life is very important for me. Yeah, so like I spent the afternoon with the kids, and then we have a dinner, and then after dinner, I already say, hey, because this is happening like almost every week, as you know, Axel, with the online writing club. I was saying, hey, mommy is gonna have a live tonight, so I have to go upstairs so that everyone in the house knows. Okay, apparently we have to go to bed, or at least go upstairs. So I'm reading then a book to my toddler, and my hubby is taking care of our baby girl. And then after this, I'm going upstairs at about 7 my time, 7 p.m. in the evening. Yeah, and then I start writing my newsletter. It's, to be honest, although I love batch creating, and I did this for instance for our summer break, but it's often really last minute, meaning that like I write a newsletter and then I send it at 9 p.m. for instance. So I start at 7, then I send it at 9 p.m. Or it is that I start at 8 in the evening, for instance, a live session for an hour or two. This is how I'm doing it. So it's really like lunch breaks, then sometime during the day, and then the evenings. To be honest, I I can't really recommend you doing what I do in the evenings, because it can really be a pain in the butt. Especially since the situation here is I'm in Europe, I'm in Germany, and my audience, like 90% of my audience, is of course like in America and in Canada. So my situation is, no matter what I do, and if I want to keep running this online part-time writing business, the audience is there and they are longing for me to meet them in the evening. I often now try it also to invite them to meet me during lunch break, for instance, which would then be very early in the morning for them, for Eastern time. Pacific time doesn't work there. But this is how I'm doing it. But again, I want to what I want to say here is really, I don't recommend doing this in the evening, for instance, for mental health, because we know that if we don't, if we don't like slow down sometime during the day, that maybe in the future you could then have like a mental illness or something. So I'm aware of this. So what I'm doing now, I'm trying together with my hubby to improve the situation, let's call it like this. But again, since the situation is that my audience is in America, it's not so easy for me. But so my recommendation would be, if you are, for instance, let's say you're someone in Europe, okay, and you're then writing a newsletter in Spanish, for instance, then what you can do, of course, to reach your audience, for instance, you can offer this during lunch breaks, But again, most then are also offering, even people now from the tribe who are from Spain or from Italy or so, they are offering their live sessions if they are doing something like this in the evening. But again,
Yeah.
I don't recommend doing this. But this is how I'm doing this, and this is like these hours add up, so that I reach about, at good days, let's say 4 hours with my newsletter, or maybe even 5 hours with the newsletter. But again, we have days where the kids are sick, I can't do nothing. We have the weekends where I, of course, won't work in the morning. This will just be in the evening for 2 to 3 hours, if it works. And then also, people are asking me about like sacrifices. So other moms, they love to lie on the couch in the evening, watching TV. This is what I stopped in 2020. So I really stopped watching TV. And if I watch a movie, then this is really, on a date night with my hubby, for instance.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. And this is, I think, a good explanation how you go from, like you mentioned earlier, that you used to be in a corporate environment where you have to basically work the hours and the day and whatever it is that the employer is providing, to you having that independence. And if I hear it right, if I had to summarize it, I would say what you basically demonstrating is that you have to establish a certain sequence of habits and certain time frames, not religiously, not necessarily it has to be like 7:01 I'm sitting upstairs at my desk, but fundamentally to get into a certain rhythm. Now, I know that you're a very caring person, Kristina, but I'm assuming you're not doing all of this and doing these sacrifices to, save humanity. You're obviously doing it also to at least some extent to generate some income. How has that basically impacted you as a person who was in marketing, very successful in a GOB, and now you're basically independent? What kind of freedoms and what kind of financial things does it generate for you? And I don't mean the numbers, but more in bigger terms, in big picture.
Yeah. So as I told you, I'm working in marketing and brand management. This is like my corporate job, and I'm working in healthcare. And what I'm doing here with the newsletter and the online writing business, this is really, I started writing parenting stuff, and now I'm more like on a meta level, sharing stuff like educational stuff about how to become a better writer, how to start your newsletter, and what this podcast is here also about: inspire you, inspire you to start and dare to start your own business. And this doesn't mean, it's very important for me and also for my hubby, who's also like this part-time creator. For me, this doesn't mean that you have to quit your corporate job. So I wouldn't want to quit my corporate job, because for me, with 2 kids in the house, it's still very important. And I love my corporate job. And there are things that I couldn't do like in the part-time world that I can do in a corporate job, for instance, because the budget is different. So let's say in the corporate world, you have like, I don't know, for marketing budget, let's say $500,000 or so. And then you can help your brand and the company and everything. And when you're doing this part-time, of course, you can't invest that much amount of money. So for me, it's totally fine to talk about numbers like here. So let's say, what am I like investing? I was talking with Patrick about this because he's like the numbers guy here, but I have it here on the other screen. So what we're, for instance, doing, let's start with Medium, for instance. Okay. So if you want to start on Medium, this is, or you don't have to be, but now you have to become a member. But in the past, you wouldn't have to become a member to start writing there. But it's just like $5 for you to start on Medium. And the moment you pay these $5, then you can also earn via the Medium Partner Program, which means that if people check out your stuff, not only on Medium, but also people coming like from Google and other social platforms finding you, you can earn money. This was like how I started, and I paid these $5. Then I started with the newsletter. Substack newsletter is free. Only like the moment you start offering paid subscriptions, you're gonna give them this 10% cut, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
YouTube is also free, but what we're doing this, I can't tell you the exact number, but we're, for instance, paying for a YouTube Premium because just for us, but this has not really something to do with my business, but I don't like the distraction on YouTube with all the ads. So we were also paying for this, okay? A few bucks, like $10 or so per month. I'm not sure about the exact numbers there. Okay, and then since I told you that in January last year, 2024, I decided to go with the online writing club there, what I did was, right from the start, I connected my newsletter, which again would be like risk-free, zero money. Just like the moment you would say, hey, I want to earn money, you would then give Substack this 10% cut. But again, it would be risk-free. You don't have to pay anything for this. I then said, I want to connect this to my Circle community. And the Circle community, this is about $200 per month. And this really depends. It can also be about $100. It can be $200. Depending on, for instance, I am there offering also courses. The courses are on the platform, but I'm going to change this. So then I will be at about $100. And then I'm also investing in Teachable, where I have my bootcamp. So in addition to this community I'm offering for my paid subscribers, I'm also offering everyone to join my bootcamps, where I then can dive into a specific topic more. And with Teachable, we are here of an investment here at $160, about $160. And since I also have an email list on Kit, for instance, with more than they change this all the time, but at the moment it's just 1,000 subscribers or so, and I have to pay about $30 for this. And then of course we have Zapier, we have WordPress, we pay, for instance, for Zoom, all the things here, and this is roughly about 2, 3, 4. Let's say it's really like an investment per month, about $400 from my end, which I'm like investing into my business. And in addition, of course, that I'm giving like the 10% cut to Substack. This is like the investment from my side. But on the other side, if we're just looking, for instance, on Medium, where I started like from zero, then after a few months already, I earned $5. And then at some point, I already earned $500 because they had like a bonus system back then. And then I scaled this whole thing up to more than $1,000 per month, you know. And with Substack, for instance, what I did was, again, I started with zero. Everything was free. And then last year I said, okay, now I feel ready. I connected my Substack with my Circle community, which was, of course, then also new. And I could really like scale this business from zero to $38,000, which means about more than $3,000 per month, which I think part-time annual recurring revenue with these $38,000 and these more than $3,000 per month is already huge for me as a, again, part-time creator. And there are many people, especially, let's say, in third world countries, who would, if they would make this amount of money similar to Medium, you know, this could be like, you know, this like a lottery win for them. I know many from Medium who, you know, were super excited when they once made, I don't know, $5,000 per story or so. So I think this is really then a moment where I say, okay, the investment, or it's really risk-free. You can start on any platform. It's just an investment of a few bucks where you start. Also with Substack, the 10% I think are fine. And then if you see where this is going, this is amazing. And in addition to what I'm earning with my Substack newsletter, I'm also having the boot camps, and with the boot camps, I'm also like, let's say, averaging per month, and also with Gumroad and all the other platforms. This is like, I'm not. We have a list here, but yeah. This is also about, let's say, this is about $4,000 per month. And if you like, you know, again, all these different multiple income streams, they really add up, because if you have like you have a blog, you have a newsletter, you're repurposing stuff, you are creating a book, you're sharing this on Gumroad, and even, for instance, this book is free, people are willing to pay you because they say, hey, Kristina, you're putting so much time into this. This is so valuable, you know? And then you have, for instance, a community. You can open this and you can say, hey, you can become, for instance, also a paid member for the community. So it's really about building this flywheel, as I always say, this flywheel, so that is really as a part-time creator, because yeah, you only have a few hours per day, especially if you're a mom or a father, then I really recommend doing this to build this flywheel. Of course, there are other people way smarter than me doing crazy stuff there, or now with AI. Axel, I don't know how you're seeing this, especially on Substack. They are pumping out like every hour on Substack Notes, the short form network, something. At the moment, I'm not doing this. Maybe at some point I'm gonna do this, but for me, it's really in the moment, last minute. It's pretty messy here. Often, you know, before the live sessions, also here with Axel, my hubby shows up, or my daughter shows up, or you know what I mean. Or someone is screaming. You know, like, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, my baby was screaming downstairs. So I was like, you know, sending my hubby a WhatsApp to tell him the baby is crying. So this is really how we're doing this. I think I have a system for everything, but still the system is pretty messy. So I can, of course, recommend specific strategies, what to do, but I would know how to do it better. Let's go like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for giving a really like almost complete picture of how this actually happens and what the outcomes are. Few quick comments from my side, because you emphasized a few times that, you know, a lot of things are last minute. For our audience, if you are listening and you're saying, okay, I've been hesitant to start something to generate additional income, maybe, and we're getting to this next, to potentially have something more for consumption, but maybe also the opportunity to have something to invest, because I have certain goals, medium to longer term. But I think people need to also tap into listening a little bit into yourself to say, what is my personality? It sounds honestly to me like a little bit of this doing stuff last minute is just your personality. If somebody were to say you have to at that exact time do exactly this, you could probably do it for a while, but it would really be a struggle. And other people who say, I can only live when I exactly have this plan that I put together for myself, I'm very confident with my plan and I'm executing my plan. So don't necessarily take what we're describing as you have to do this way or that way. Be aware of your personality and then do whatever feels in the flow. Like there is this term, in the flow. When you can get yourself in the flow, it's not how you get there and how you be in the flow, but the result counts. So I want to transition for a few minutes to say, okay, I'm just making a little uneducated guess here, semi-educated maybe, that you're not making this income just so that you can buy more burgers or stuff like that. So can you tell us a little bit, are you using all or part of the money? Are there any kind of investment intentions or something like that? Because I mean, I don't want to totally forget that people typically come to the show not just to see awesome moms who can handle 27 balls in the air for all day long, but also a little bit in the direction, okay, when you have this, when you're building this, when you're generating this additional income, how does that relate to your investment goals?
Yeah. I think again, what I would do. So at the moment, yeah, I'm not spending the money on burgers or anything. It's more like that I have it on my bank account. It's nice to see it, and it's like I'm having like one business account together with my hubby, and with this business account, we really crossed like 6 figures, which is amazing. And also with my like business, I can cross this now. And as I said, it's really about knowing that I reached this point, and this is amazing. Part time. And this somehow gives me freedom again, especially for the corporate world, because you never know what's going to happen, especially, yeah, in America, also, of course, in Europe. Many people get laid off. I'm now in my late 30s. You never know what's going to happen in my late 40s. Maybe I'm too old then or whatever, or I don't know. There is someone who's could become like a trainee or so, and she could do the work, whatever. Something like this. Again, I think this is what it's about. It's more like um to be somehow in control and not to be like a mom who only has her family life and maybe her corporate job, but I want to show that I'm more than my corporate job and my job description. And again, this writer that always was in me is now is now there on Substack writing, which is cool. There's one anecdote here. I guess this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. I remember like a talk when I had to decide what to study, and I was talking with my dad about it, and I said to my dad, I know what I want to I know what I want to study. And he was like, uh-huh. And I said, yes, I would want to become a journalist. And he was like, uh-huh. And I was saying, okay, Dad, what do you say about this? What do you think about it? Because when you're 18 years old, you're like, okay, what does your dad say about it? What does your mom think about it? This is very important for you. And he said, if you gonna study journalism, you're gonna become an alcoholic. You won't earn any money, and you're gonna become an alcoholic, something like this. And based on this, his idea was for me to become a lawyer. So I studied, for instance, law, in Frankfurt. I started this, and of course, like, I don't know, after a few weeks or so, or even, when I started, I already knew that this wouldn't be for me. And so after half a year, so the first semester, then I decided to switch and to study journalism, for instance. And somehow this is like having my corporate world, like the career ladder I climbed, and being in this position as a product manager now, and like managing everything, but not writing so much as, like, of course, emails, and in the presentation I add something. Of course, I'm doing a lot of presentations and so on, but it's not really writing, meaning that I'm writing like non-fiction stories, non-fiction text, or fiction stories, and so on. And this is inside me. And I guess this is the cool thing about side hustles. And this is why more than, for instance, in America, more than 80% of Americans now have a side hustle. This is one of the reasons. It's not really about the money. It's also, of course, about, becoming the person you really are, and understanding that you're more than just this job description. But of course, also for many, many, many people, it's really about also, adding some more money to the bank accounts, because they have a family, or they have, I don't know, 3 kids or so. You mentioned something, Axel, with a presentation, which is cool, because, for instance, in my corporate world, of course, if I know there is a presentation for a Salesforce meeting, or I don't know, international guest is coming, something like this, and I have to give a presentation, then it's like, okay, I have to sit down for the next hours and do the presentation, la la la. And if I'm doing this part-time, often it's just like, oh, don't forget, tonight I have a Zoom call, and then I spend 50 minutes on Canva doing the presentation. Of course, I know this person already because I interviewed this person. I'm putting together the presentation and the slides and everything, and then I'm just there and I'm doing it, and it feels good, And this is I think, what corporate is for me, and what then my part-time business here is for me. But to come back to investing again, I'm not in what the next step would really be, to invest more money into my business. So this is my hobby and my philosophy. So we would want to invest more into the business, but the question would be, where would I invest the money? Before our session, we were talking about, for instance, a virtual assistant, someone who could help me, so that I could, again, maybe don't have to work in the evening so much, something like this. Or would it be someone who would, for instance, edit my podcast, or would it be a producer for my podcast, something like this? So how could investment, I would rather see as how could I level up my business, And we have our business account, our business bank account, and then also, of course, our family business account. And so we don't take any money from this business account there. The money is there, and then Patrick, of course, might be doing some stuff with it, but we're not taking anything out of it and then, I don't know, buying a car or something. This is not what we're doing. But of course, if we're talking, for instance, about vacays, or for instance, Patrick is now going on maternal leave, and then what's it called, Axel? Not maternal leave, but parental leave. Patrick is going on parental leave, for instance, and so there will be a gap that for 2 or 3 months he won't earn any money. This is a thing in Germany. I don't know how it's around the world, but I think in America there is no such thing as parental leave there. But for him, it would be really 3 months together with me and the kids in the house, and of course also in this time he's gonna spend a lot of time on his part-time business, building it, growing it, and everything. But for this, for instance, it really, really helps us. Then we're going to take some bucks out of this. Others, for instance, they can't go on a parental leave for 3 months, for 2 months, 1 month, or even, it starts with 1 month in Germany. But I think this is one of the things, to have more time with the family, to maybe, I don't know, for my son's birthday, I don't know, say, okay, we can spend the money on the bike, because in our we know that we have this bank account where there is this and that amount of money, something like this. So this is just what I can tell you about it, because
that's
this
fine.
is where we are at the moment. But maybe next time then, Axel, I don't know, in a year or so, I can tell you exactly where we invest the money. But is there something that you would recommend us to do, I don't know, buying shares or something?
Yeah, well, I answer that in a moment, but let me kind of summarize real quick. For non-German or non-Central European audience members, what Kristina is referring to is in the States, or in some place in the English-speaking world, the 2 options. One is called a sabbatical, and they can be paid or unpaid, more common in the academic world. Or like anybody, and I've seen this with a lot of my, I've been for a very long time not really an employee, but I've served as a consultant in many corporate environments, and people there have the opportunity, for example, when they build family or somebody gets sick, to say, I need to take unpaid leave, right? So where you basically say, okay, well, my parents get sick or something happens, and you say, okay, my regular vacation time is exhausted, but I still need another month or 2, and then you can, obviously with approval by your employer, get unpaid leave. I want to get back to something in your description. and answer to my question about investing. One of the things, and for the audience, just so you understand, I've been asking Kristina for a while if she would come on this show, and she kind of answered in a sense to say, I'm not really quite sure that I'm the right kind of guest for what your show is normally about. And one of the things that people know, and if you want to go to Amazon, you can actually really get the book and read about it, is we are doing this whole program that we call Idea Wealth Grower, with the goal to reach something that I call the time freedom point. And now typically, when we talk about it, the time freedom point is associated with what do we do with our money to make the money generate income so that we reach the time freedom point. But when you listen now, we're almost at the end of the episode here to Kristina, what she has already almost, maybe even completely accomplished is the control over her time, even though she makes the conscious decision together with her husband to say, we have corporate jobs, we have our side business, we are both building our side business, we have a certain income, and we haven't taken this money necessarily to invest it deliberately, maybe except for some short-term stuff, but we're having this amount of money as kind of like a second stream, or you could say a third leg or a fourth leg. If you say, okay, Kristina has some corporate work, hubby has some corporate work, hubby has some side income, Kristina has some, so you're standing on 4 legs. If at some point somebody who you don't control says one leg, the corporate leg for one or either one goes away, you still have legs. But more importantly, what you have is the freedom to decide what you want to do with your time. If, let's say, in the next year, these side businesses were to double, just as a thought experiment, you would even more have the freedom to say, do we want to really continue to spend time on this corporate world? Or have we reached a point where we really have the freedom to do this side business? And I hope everybody realized, especially when you see us on video, but when you listen to us, how much the difference is when Kristina speaks about how passionate she is about her newsletter, her community, the online writing school, and all that. That's really the love that comes from inside. And that's really the goal of the time freedom point. Now, in your case, this love from journalism and writing and stuff like that, Kristina, can be fulfilled with, for example, your side businesses. I know a lot of our clients who do the investments because they have a passion that doesn't necessarily pay. They love, for example, painting, and they don't have the ambition to become Picasso. They just love painting. And they maybe love certain scenarios, and they know if I spend the majority of my time with that, I need to have some way to sustain myself. That's why I'm doing the investments. It's obviously almost more beautiful when you can say, I can already generate the income from my passion, and then really determine the point in time if I ever want to say, okay, now I can basically deliberately, not by somebody external, but by my own choice, decide I reduce the amount of time I spend on A because I want to mainly spend time on B. Now, to the question with investing is very much, and anybody who knows me, anybody who is in our mentoring program knows, it is really very much related to 2 things. What is your goal and your vision for life, not just for the money or for your job? And number 2, what is your time horizon? So somebody at your age point, Kristina, has probably easily a 15, 20-year time horizon. You can do a lot of things. If you take me at my age, my time horizon is single-digit years. If I had to do something and I have a reasonable amount of money to apply, right? So that is the big difference. What do you really want to accomplish? Maybe how much more freedom do you want to have? Also in light of the fact that the kids will not forever be babies, obviously. And then the other thing is, in a sense, how much time do you have to make the money work? And I don't mean it in the somewhat traditional German way of like life insurance or some kind of boring investment. Work is a matter of the intensity and in combination of the risk. So if you want to work really hard and make a lot, do you need to take on more risk? If you say, okay, I want to do medium, well, you have to have more patience, but in your case, you would have the freedom and the benefit of having time. unless you say, I want to retire in 5 years, then you might not have much time. So with that being said, I want to thank you for first that you took the time, that I could convince you to come and inspire other women and other people that it is possible, and you're a living example of that. And for anybody who says, wow, I like writing, I like to have a publication, I like to learn how to do this stuff online at my own time, how can people get in touch with you, Kristina?
Yeah, I guess the best way to contact me is really via the online writing club, meaning yeah, onlinewritingclub.com. This is my site, and this is my newsletter, and everything is linked, as I said. It's like the heartbeat of my business, my newsletter. And Axel is also part of the online writing club. And yeah, I think this is the best way. And again, like you can also send me an email then, Kristina@onlinewritingclub.com. And Axel, I'd say many, many thanks. It was really delightful being here on the show and sharing some stuff about my life. But again, for everyone watching and listening, um, again, in regard especially to mental health, I can't really recommend doing what I'm doing, especially with the evenings. But if you can manage, I think like the best thing would be similar now to Axel. I guess that Axel doesn't have to work in the evening, so that if you, wherever you live in Europe or in America, and you can do this like during the day somehow, during lunch break, I just wanted to tell you it is possible. Even if you have an hour, let's say during lunch break, or you have an hour before, I don't know, you go to work, something like this, it's definitely possible. And these hours then add up. You know, if you have like Sunday, you start with 1 hour, then you have 2 hours, and maybe also on the weekend you say, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice some of my time there, and I'm gonna put it into my future. I guess this is like the biggest takeaway I wanted to tell you.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
at some point you definitely gonna make your first buck online, and the first dollar is the start. And most people don't make it because they are so like, oh, if I start doing this, then I have to make, I don't know, thousands of dollars. This is not the idea of it. It's really about, you know, following your passion and then seeing, okay, cool, I can, because I think monetization is very important. Monetize it at some point and then see, okay, how can I now scale it, or what other income streams could I add to this to this business model.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the inspirational part, right? So the audience knows there's always 1 or 2 questions at the very end. And I know we've been going quite a little bit over our normal length, so I have to ask you to be brief, but I still am curious. Kristina, if you had a time machine, you could go forward or backward, you could go anywhere. Where would you go and why?
I think at the moment I'd love to be like more in the future and know more about my future, so that I now can slow down a bit.
Okay, how far would you go?
5 years.
Okay, very cool. Yeah. So we may have to check in with you in 5 years and maybe a few more times in between. Again, like I said, thank you so much for coming on the show. Like we were talking about, all the information about the email and the link to the site and all the stuff where you can get in touch with Kristina will be in the show notes. So Kristina, thank you again for being on the Ideal Investor Show.